is only one side of the story, and the other, of course, the mirror side, is the miniature. And I've been to talk to one artist who plays with both of those by reducing the expanse of the heavenly bodies in our universe, but also by hugely inflating the size of microbes which are actually invisible to the naked eye.
As an artist, I'm interested in perception, how we see. What microscopes and telescopes do, they sort of extend the range of our senses. Whether it's the hidden microscopic world or looking at the edges of the universe. The Museum of the Moon is touring around the world. It's 500,000 times smaller than the real thing, but it's made accurately with NASA imagery. So every valley, crater and mountain is defined in perfect detail. And that artwork provides an opportunity for people to get really close to the moon, to sort of bring it really close, to investigate it, but also just go around the far side of the moon and see the dark side of the moon for the first time as well.
Has it worked in different ways in different locations?
Yeah, so we're putting it into a cathedral, and there obviously people think about it in relation to creation of the universe by God, you know, a sense of religion. Whereas when we toured it around India with the British Council, you know, the moon has a great significance in Hinduism. But we also put it into science museums, even a swimming pool, so people can swim out underneath the moon.
An awful lot of your work plays with ideas of size and scale, and this here is something which has been fantastically enlarged. Tell me about it.
Yes, so this is a glass sculpture of HIV. So this is a sort of scientific representation of the virus, and it's been enlarged by 1 million. And it was inspired by very much looking at images in newspapers of coloured viruses and realising that actually viruses are so small they don't have colour at all. So they're smaller than the wavelength of light itself.
1 million times life size. You know, the idea of what it is to see something so small, I think that's what really gets me.
Also, it creates this tension between the beauty of the object and then what it represents. It is interesting, you're just drawn to it by the beauty of it and then repelled when you realise what it is.
You've got an E. coli, you've got a mammoth E. coli. How long is it?
Well, it's 90 foot long, yeah.
So it is vast.
It is absolutely vast. It's suspended in the atrium, so it's about the perception of bacteria and what it feels like to stand next to some of this stuff.
We very much take displacement of size for granted. So you'll go up to a portrait in a gallery, you know, it's about so big, and you'll say, God, how realistic it is. And the one thing that's not realistic is its shape and size.
Yeah, so the imagery takes sort of precedent over the size of the object, yeah.
But you've also brought it into your own personal life, haven't you? Really, that amazing ring that you did for your wife.
The wedding ring, it actually has little images of us on it, and you hold it up to a candle and it projects portraits of us and the kids. So it's the world's first portrait projecting ring. Again, it's the sense of play, the sense of scale, sense of intimacy that you get from working on that kind of scale. Yeah, these are fragile things. I suppose revealing the invisible, isn't it? There's a bit of that. Hidden worlds that are just beyond our senses.
It's wonderfully appealing, isn't it? The idea that you're seeing what you were never made to see.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary thing. I'll put it down.
Luke is really insistent, I think rightly so, that what he's doing is making people understand size differently. And you see that E. coli hanging in the Oxford Natural History Museum in the place where you'd expect there to be a dinosaur. And so, already, you've got a joke set up there. But how does that kind of size, scale, transposition work for you?
Well, I love his work, but what I find really interesting about it is that, you know, he hasn't settled for either big or small. He goes for both, really. So he will blow the HIV up, virus up. He will. The moon is fascinating because you saw the pictures there. We've got a bit of it. It's basically a balloon and it's smooth. So you assume somehow by looking at it from there, and obviously seeing it up above, that these craters are actual indentations. And they are actually craters, and the bits that rise do rise, but not at all. It's just beautifully made. I mean, I am fascinated by not just his work, but David Mach, the Scottish sculpture. You know, big things made out of matches. Chuck Close, the artist who works with paint and photography. Again, you go into a gallery, you see his stuff, and that is what is really interesting about either the big or the small. It's that hey wow factor that you have to see things in a new way. It just makes you question things that you almost take for granted.
There's this wonderful story about